Hi all, and welcome to another mod asset highlight by Ellen. I have to apologize first off that I didn't do one last week, mostly because my parents were in town, and it was crazy busy, and work was busy, etc., etc. So, didn't have a chance to go and do some research to see what mods I liked, what assets I liked, so I held off, and I am coming back and doing it again this week. This week for you, we've got a large office building, Gula. I can't resist Gula, I have to admit, as well as a new map, two different education buildings, and some commercial buildings for you. So a nice little mix, things that I really liked. There are more and more fun assets coming out. I happen to say that the assets for me are even more exciting than the mods. There's just so many cool buildings, cool recreations of things like KFC, but also new things. It's just there's a lot of stuff out there. It makes your city feel much more lived in, much more unique, and makes it feel a little bit more real world too. So once again, thank you guys for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying. If there's anything I should be looking at or you would like me to highlight, let me know. I'll take a look, and I'll see you guys next week. And to start off, we go back to Gula, who makes amazing buildings as always, with this 4x4 office. It's the Rivergate Likes. I like it a lot just because, to be honest, it's a little bit less fancy looking than a lot of the office buildings we see. I love how horrible the windows are, for instance. It's based off a real building, as he often does. And a lot of the office buildings we have are nice and shiny, etc. This feels more like some of the old office buildings that were built back in the 60s and 70s, where they were still, pretty tall. This was, I think, 100 meters tall in the game, so pretty big for the game. You can see it's one of the tallest buildings around, but it looks pretty old when you look at the concrete. And yeah, it's a beat up little building, which feels right. It feels like you should for most older built office buildings. So I sort of like it as a nice addition to the game for me. Again, one of the things I'm always trying to do with the growables is just find enough that I get enough variety in the city. I'm not seeing the same buildings over and over. Now, obviously, I have two of these guys right next to each other, but even so, it's a nice older style office building, good tall one for when you're trying to grow a tall city. It's the Rivergate Likes, and it's by Gula. Next up, we have a map, Loch Ley by Ava. I'm a big fan of this map. I think it's, one, gorgeous. If you just sort of scroll through it, we've got this wonderful open river with some nice cliffs and beach area up to some mountainous area. There's a middle mountain that's with sort of like steps that you could come up and you can grow around that mountain, which I kind of like a lot. And you do have some more fun river area over here, and this is pretty simple. This is all part of that big mountain area. So I like this. It feels like a natural map to me, which I think I've seen a couple of Ava's maps, and I've highlighted at least one, and this one has that same feel. Another thing that I find very interesting is only 3 outside connections that I counted when I was looking at it. This is where you start. You actually start in the bottom right instead of the middle here. So you have this outside connection there. You've got the rail way up in the top left. That's the outside rail connection. And then there's one other highway connection. Ooh, look, actually, I lied. There's a highway and a rail connection over here. So 4 outside connections that I saw when I was doing a look. It's a light number. I guess it's just the way it is arrayed. You really start with just this one. You're going to be connecting right there, and that's it. So it really forces you to grow a little bit smartly. I love little details like this little cove of this beach right here. I feel like you could do something fun with that. Just a lot of fun. There's another beach over here in case you need it. A lot of fun little tiny details. This is, I almost want to know what happens when you fill this with water, to be honest. I don't think you can dam. You might be able to dam here and see what happens, but anyway, it's a fun map in terms of resources. It doesn't have any oil at all. No oil. Lots of arable land, however. All that beach is sort of farmland. And then a couple big chunks of early ore, if you need it, early ore there. And then there's a big chunk of ore, of course, across this mountain, so you might want to mine there. Of course, the trick is a lot of that land you can't build on. And then forest pretty much everywhere on this top corner here. There's also some land, so you could make this sort of your industry area and connect to that railroad if you wanted. A little bit more arable over here along the river, and of course more forest. So a decent amount of natural resources on a very pretty map. This is Loch Ley by Ava. Next up we have this campus dorm by Dex 4. As you can see, it's actually a pretty simple building. Brick, sort of the classic reflective windows from City Skylines. What I like about this is that it is a education building. It is tiny. He actually has a 50 student version and a 500 student version, so it's not going to blow over your game too much. But what you can do is you can start sort of setting these up in an interesting pattern just next to each other, and I've stayed in university buildings like this, but you could very easily build out maybe a quad, something like that, where this is going to be horrible because I'm not actually trying that hard, but let's see here, a couple of these, and then we can build, a nice quad, maybe like that, where this is now the university section. Now, students don't actually stay here, they just get educated here, so even though they're dorms, it's not a staying kind of thing. And heck, with the traffic mods, I think one that I highlighted way back, that allows you to have zonable pedestrian paths. You could really make it sort of more interesting, right? So that the quad wouldn't have the road in the middle, it'll just have pedestrian paths. You could zone off of that and put roads around the outside. I think what's nice is that I'm starting to see pieces of buildings, and this is one good example. I'll highlight a library later, which give you the feel of the full university without just being, one building, university, go. So you can start building out maybe a university campus. And for me, this is sort of the classic basic dorm room brick, especially for like the Northeast, which is where I come from, in the United States, where there's lots of brick dorm rooms all over the place. So anyway, this is the campus dorm. It's the 50 student version, which I'll highlight just very carefully here. 50 student capacity, 20,000 cost, a little bit of upkeep, a little bit of water and power. Probably a little bit low on the water and power for the size of it, but that's fine. It's by Dex 4, and I quite like it. Thanks. Next up is this commercial building. It's a 4x4. Level 2 building by Room 360 called Pizza, Tellus, and Second Cup. What I like about it is I like the combination of the three businesses together in sort of a strip. Most of the buildings that we have, at least so far in the game, are single commercial buildings, single residential buildings. The strip feels like a lot of strip malls. Now these are all Canadian businesses. They're ones that I don't particularly know, but I think they're popular in Ontario from what the description says. But I just like how it looks. It's got the parking there in the front, the seating arrangements for them. Feels like a nice strip. You've got a little bit of a side building there, which is kind of cool. Just a nice building. The only thing that I feel like is missing is I feel like there should be like garbage out back or something, because I'm always used to seeing dumpsters out back of any kind of set of shops. But that said, really nice building. It's part of, I think Room 360's done a bunch of different Canadian buildings, so this is one of them. And again, this is the Pizza, Tellus, Second Cup by Room 360. Next up, we have this undergraduate library from Fral Recce Media. This is actually the library at the University of Illinois, which I find, it's a fascinating library, right? Because it looks like a plaza, it's underground to get to it, which I think is really cool. My fiance actually studied library science at the University of Illinois, so that I was looking for some of the cool pieces there, but it's actually a fun little library. It acts as an education building, so, education building, no question, but then it sort of is underground, and University of Illinois has a very nice library system, of which this is part of. If you look at it here in education, a decent amount of upkeep, a lot of cost, 60,000, no pollution, but it can store 4,000 students, so it feels a little high to me. That's pretty heavy, but it does help educate. Again, sometimes, I'm not trying to balance all of the systems together in a way that's would be normal, because look at our university here, 4,500 student capacity. This is 4,000 for almost the exact, it's a little bit cheaper, but same power cost, etc. So a little bit more electricity, actually. I didn't notice that earlier. Anyway, It does have a lot of student capacity, probably not entirely accurate, but you could have it fit in as part of your university if you want to. And certainly if you're making a university campus somehow, this might be a good pick there. So this is the undergraduate library. It would be from the University of Illinois. It's made by Rocky Media. And that's our last video for the day. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week. I apologize again for missing last week, and I'll see you next one. Bye.